All right. Hi, my name's Chase Pritchett. I work for Surgical Care Affiliates. Dale Spoonmore, he also works with me. He'll be presenting here in a few minutes. But I want to talk about a few things I really liked in C# 7. And the first one is tuples. So this is really where you have a method and you're returning multiple results. And you don't really want to create a C# class. Maybe you're being lazy or it's just part of a private method. You really don't want to expose a class for that. In C# 4, there was a way to create a tuple object, but it was just always really awkward. As we see here, that there was a tuple type you could return that had like an int and a double, but using it was just really awkward. You got item 1, item 2, item 3 back. So 6 months from now when you look at the code again, good luck remembering what item 2 was. But now in C# 7, we're able to return this newer type of syntax called a value tuple. And this is a NuGet package that you have to actually bring in. It's not part of the full .NET framework yet. But it allows you to make a tuple and give it names. So now I can say count, sum, average. So in my consuming class, it's really nice. I'm able to say .sum, not .item 2. And there's even a nicer way to do this with deconstructors. So in the previous example, I was getting an object that was a value tuple, but I can just skip that step completely and say, give me an int called count, a double called sum, and a double called average. And then here's just a quick method syntax differentiation. The next one I want to talk about is pattern matching. And we've always had this is syntax and this as syntax, but if you see, it's just really not that much value added. We could say if our shape is a square, then the next line, go ahead and say, okay, give me that as a square. But now we're able to just cut a line of code out. We can immediately declare that variable into scope. We can say if the shape is a square, put it in S, and then use it. So it's a pretty nice just code readability change. And then case statements got quite a bit of an overhaul. So previously, we could only really work with constants, so numbers like 1, 2, 3, or strings. But now we can actually bring in, say, like a type. So say I had a method where I was getting objects of just shape, and I wanted to do different things depending on the type. I could say case circle, and again, push it into a variable called C and use that in that block immediately after it. And then we can also combine that with the when statement. So I could declare that into a variable and then use it immediately to say when, say, their birth date is between a certain amount of years. So say I was trying to figure out what generation someone was part of. Before I would have had probably a lot of if statements to do this, and I could just bind this up into a case statement now. And the last item is some new expression-bodied members. So in C# 6, we got the ability to do read-only properties with lambda arrows. So I'm sure you're all aware of that. But now we can use it on constructors, finalizers, get and set properties, and indexers. I don't really use finalizers or indexers, so I've only included examples for constructors and properties. But we can see how much simpler the code is here to read. If all I'm doing is taking in that constructor and assigning it to a property. And the same for properties. We're also able to just use lambda statements to set those. And I mean, that's a give or take. If you need to do actual logic, you probably don't want to use this. But for simple stuff, it's just really nice and improves the readability of your code. So that's all I've got. Any questions or Would you like to see anything again?
What was the new text you had installed for the
It's called system.valuetuple. And he asked what the NuGet package was. On which,
So whenever you declare the tuple, turn tab in line, and you just do asynchronous void there and then declare the tuple, or do you have to
let's see, he's asking if you could, on the tuple, declare a asynchronous void, and I'm really not sure. I'd have to look a little more about that. Does anyone here know if you could do that? All right, well, thank you.